It's recording.
Great. So welcome everyone to this glorious morning. This morning in its fullest illumination on our Global Heart Resonance Call, hosted by Good of the Whole. And I'm Shelley Darling, and today you will just be able to deepen into the field through just hearing my voice as we open this call. I'm not going to go into any explanations of the intricacies of technology that are not optimally working in the field where I am, but we have this opportunity to just gently close our awareness this morning and open with this heart attunement. And taking a breath, becoming aware of our body's relationship to the field as one unified being, one consciousness in movement, in a spiralic dance of love, connection, and consciousness. And this morning, allowing that sensibility to come forth that lets go of anything other than being fully present. So we really call in all aspects of ourself, and we let go of mass consciousness here for this call. To be saturated in this experience of love, a living presence, that sense of wholeness. So we embrace those dimensions of self that do feel separated. And at the same time, know we are in that full conjunction of love's presence supporting us. Love has our back here today. Love has our back in every moment. This consciousness, God, source consciousness. And we're just breathing in, that in-breath, allowing that information to come in, to fill. And just experience the sensation of golden, like a golden liquid elixir running through the central column of our being. Just feeling this chalice of love. We're breathing in and we're opening to receive here with the greatest sense of sincerity, aligning with that integrous force of love, the field itself. And as we exhale, we allow ourselves to sink deeper into that full relationship with Earth, with that sense of being nurtured, connected, valued, and whole. And we allow our awareness to rise, to expand at the same time, feeling this absolute miraculous sense of beauty around us, this vast cosmic ocean of creativity, of knowledge. And we give great gratitude for this full movement of this toroidal field in us and as us, within every single cell. So as you take a breath this morning, allow that bubbling up of joy. That sensation of connection with the entire universe in motion. We are that energy in motion. And today, we're so blessed to have Naheed Mokhtari with us. And this call today is an invitation into the heart of wild divinity. And just breathe with those words. This frequency. What that means for each of us to let go into the field, to allow that fullest expression, be it a full-on dance or whatever it is for you, as a writer or an author or just this beautiful being. So before I pass this over to Naheed, just the invitation is to keep on being in this state of wonder, of fascination, as I just expressed a couple of guidelines for this call, and to ask you to really imbibe and embody and trust this field. So this morning, as usual, to speak 1 to 2 minutes, just referencing your name so those people that are on the call can have a sense of your being. And to speak to the whole, to be willing to let go of your own identity and what you think would be the best thing to say, to let go and allow that resurgent, that restorative expression, that emergence to come through you in right timing. That's the integrity, that's the sincerity. To be patient, to be in that pause, waiting for that moment. And we invite you within that pause to just allow some space in between each person and to listen for the thread that's wanting to bubble up, that consciousness to bubble up through, to inform us about this divine, sacred dance that we're all in here this morning. And if you notice any questions, to simply allow them to settle back down, that we on this call are here for the emergent voice, and that this is more than a conversation, more than a dialogue. This is a dialogue with the universe herself, or itself. And to trust this flow, so we're really deepening into this sense of feeling the field. And being in wonder at what it wants to bring to us today through each and every one. So with that, with great blessings and love, I pass the talking stick to Naheed, who will share our beautiful story of the golden windows and take us into our reflection today, and then we'll open the call. So Naheed, it's all yours.
Thank you, my love. Naheed from Boulder, Colorado. I want to tell you the story of golden windows, that it came through, I don't know, I heard it many years ago, but being in a Sufi conference last week and seeing where people are and still looking for the master, for the guru, for the spiritual leaders, for somebody out there, even in the name of the prophets or whatever, somebody to save them. So this is the story of Golden Window. There was a little girl living on the top of the mountain every morning. When she was waking up, she looked across the valley at the mountain on the opposite side of where she was living. She appreciates the glow of the house with golden windows at the top of the other mountain. One day, she wakes up early and decides to climb the mountain. She knocks at the door and asks the lady of the house, "Where are the golden windows?" The lady points out to the other side of the valley where she was living. "It's over there." The girl looks. The lady is pointing out at her own house where she was living. As the sun was setting and her house was glowing, she saw the golden windows were always there. If you get the sense of the story, every sunrise, she was seeing it there, but it was as she climbed the mountain, the sunset was glowing on her own house. And there is a saying, I don't know if you have heard it or not, it's like there would be a time that the sun would rise from where it sets. The hour would come, that sun would rise from where it sets. So just allowing that to be whatever meaning it has for you. So the experience of being in this, with these people who were coming to activate the spiritual heart. So the intention and the desire to be awakened, I was experiencing being in the field. It's like being like here with you. So my feeling was that was the extension of experience of being with you, being here now, seeing the beauty in every heart, knowing is everywhere. My feeling is, in the time that we have divine permission to be wild and do something ridiculous. The more ridiculous or inappropriate it seems, the more we move from our hearts without any reason. The better. Is it possible that we all, every individual, in interaction with other one, we would see the beauty of the light that reside in each heart? We would be that which they would see the reflection of the beauty in their own heart. This seems to be the way to the journey of wholeness. When we be, others become. Put a hyphen between be and come. It's like the being would come, would emerge in that instant. So today the question is, what makes it safe for you? Make it safe for all of us to join in our wild divinity, to reside in that unconditional loving, our pure passion and presence. To connect beyond our knowing. Thank you. I am complete.
Well, on the heels of that, I just a divine permission to play with our wild. This is Kate in South Dakota. I just feel that I love how you express Naheed and Shelley. I mean, you've become this master of. I always call her the ambassador of love, but this master of really bringing me to that resonant heart place. And then I think of, as I've looked into each of your eyes over time, and how we knew this playful divine play, if you will, remembering that spirit is so much fun too. So I guess I want to relate to how Flo, I think many of you know Flo from gatherings we've had. She doesn't, she still had, she said my name was too prickly. And so she's become Flo. Anyway, here we are in Glastonbury a couple of weeks ago. I haven't been with you for a couple of weeks. I've been journeying. I've been going to some sacred sites and listening to Big Mother and learning from everyone. And here Flo and we're at the tour. We climb up to this tower at the tour out of Glastonbury, and it's eclipse. So we're getting a lunar eclipse. And there's probably 10 or 12 compadres in our little pilgrimage group. And so everyone climbed the tour. And then, they were there just a few minutes and they walked down. But there were young women there singing. They had brought these beautiful songs, of, oh, I wish I could remember that. Well, I've got the words somewhere, but that's another story. It'll take up 2 minutes. So there, we linger because there's some interesting lady, and there's a lady Mono, that I'm actually reading her book about circles, and how the circle sings a song is the book. And so anyway, we've experienced her, and she's like a sacred geometry expert in the area, and combined with art, right? So she has all these stories about the Mary line, and anyway, learning to play with all these other beautiful beings that are up there. And anyway, everyone went down, and it was just Flo and I left. And so I said, I kind of feel like we have this permission to play divinely. So I went up to Young. What would you think if we all gathered hands around the door and owned? And she said, well, that's brilliant. And I said, so I went to another 3. I said, I'm kind of doing an informal survey. What would you think? And sure enough, everyone said,
So Kate,
but once they got in the circle, they loved.
Kate, you're breaking up a bit, and it says your bandwidth is low.
So I cut you off a lot. It works better. South Dakota hopes you heard some of that playful story. I can't wait till I'm playing with any or all of you again, and I'll return the fucking feather and thank you.
This is Henry. So that's such a beautiful story of the golden windows. It feels like something that is so accessible that could be brought into each day. And when I'm gazing or feeling the presence of the sunlight, it reminds me, or what came to mind was a chant by someone named Kevin James. The song goes, or the chant goes, I've got heaven in my heart, and it's flowing through my eyes, all the more brightly when it's in your eyes. So it's when the golden windows in my eyes are singing and chanting or whatever I'm doing, and it's all the more brightly when I see the golden windows in your eyes, in the other person. So I love the avenue of story that helps bring us to this, through the image, through the metaphor, which connects with the soul, that is able to be a doorway, not only a window, but a doorway into that deeper connection of who we are, that we can learn from the sun shining brightly in the morning on the windows on top of the mountain, and also at the end of the day at the sunset, the sunlight, as it reaches the windows on some side of our homes, our body temple homes. So I feel complete.
Good morning, everyone. This is June from California, and I just lit up with that story because with the question, what makes it safe to go and let that wild part out? I had an experience last night. My granddaughter is going off to college, and she came over and we were picking out things online that she might need for her dorm room. And then we went out for a bite to eat. And she was telling me all these things that she was going to be doing, all the classes she was so excited about, and her roommate that she has already made friends with. And then she stopped and she turned around. While she's telling me, we were walking and she was just almost dancing. And she turned around and looked at me and she says, Nana, she said, I am so excited. And she said, is that okay? I mean, should I be worried? And I just said, oh no, sweetheart. I said, I'm just dancing with you. Your contagion and your love of life and your excitement about all this is just so absolutely beautiful. I said, don't you for 1 minute worry that kind of feeling is not all right. And so it just fit in with today's story so deeply. And so my wish for all of us, and myself especially, is to be in my wild self, to really let myself feel and fly with that excitement of whatever it is that I do. And I know that will come if I do it without that worry that it's not okay. But that instead it's the blossoming of who I am. So I'm complete. Thank you. And I pass on the talking stick.
My heart loves out there. Boy, so as June shared her little story, my internet connection is unstable. Can you hear me okay? Someone nod their head if you can hear me okay? Okay. Wow, I just teared up. I think somehow that touched in me a part of me that sometimes does not think it's okay to be so joyful or be my wild destiny. And it just impacted me. I haven't really felt like sharing today, but I just had to share because I found myself tearing up, and kind of made me feel sad that I would think like that. So I'm pretending to be your granddaughter for a minute and listening to your wise grandmother words and take them in for myself. I could have more fun. I could have more fun. I'm caught up in a lot of worry right now, and I could have more fun. And when I'm worried, feel like I'm not present with my vision and my passions, and I'm just keep saying, well, I'm just resting. I just need to rest. I just need to rest, and I'll get my focus back. So I'm just observing, and again, grateful to have this circle of love that we all have together here. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is Karen in Costa Rica. I have several things going through me. Learning to let go of worry. Remembering to always know that the universe supports me, no matter what, no matter how things look on the surface, and trusting. Trust has been one of the greatest lessons for this life, and trust in knowing that I'm always supported. In the 2008-09 financial crash, my son and I, we crashed big. We crashed so big, I thought I was going to end up on the street. So many things happened, but it also brought me to learning to be creative again, find creative solutions, get back to things that I had forgotten were available, like the library, when you have no telephone, and things like that. And at the moment that my friend, and I was already following my guidance for direction all the time, but the fear took over. And when my friends pointed out to me, Karen, you got what you asked for. I had asked to be relieved of all my debt. I didn't think to ask of how to have it be relieved. I assumed that would mean I would need to pay it off. That was before I knew about all the shenanigans that were going on with the banksters and all the other stuff, and that it really wasn't it was my money to begin with and all this other stuff. I didn't know about any of this. And I realized, oh my God, in time what I came to see was I was relieved of all my debt. And in the end, I wasn't relieved of anything else. I managed to keep a house. All the information that was needed came to me. I had a MERS mortgage, so I stayed in my house for nearly 6 years, could have stayed longer without making any payments. I found there were places of help that just brought me to tears and I sat at one observing and realizing that this was a lesson and that I was just about done. And I asked if this was it. Listening to the people at a place for help. I was sat in gratitude. They were sitting there complaining and trying to understand, why am I here? And I realized, if I'm here to help raise consciousness, if I'm here to help shift things and help change things on this planet, I was totally out of touch with how so much of the population was, where they were in their mind, where they were in their lives, and I had to go live it. It wasn't fun, but at that point I said, I think I get it. Do I have to do this anymore? And I got no. And then things started turning around because I let go of the fear. And then it was one thing came after another, until I sat on the end of my bed. I'd had a little bit of work come. I had a trip to the west coast of Florida with some friends that was more than I expected. Came back, I had one $45 job waiting for me and nothing more. Sat on the bed and told the universe, I need more income. Don't care how it comes, that's up to you. And let it go. I went to the $45 job. It turned into a job with another company that brought us $4,000 a month between my son and I. And at that point, I just was able to keep going. I'd already started coming down to Costa Rica and bought property before all that happened. I realized as I started living what you call the wild, divine life, it is a wild ride. I will always remember at the end of my first 4T class, our minister who led it, who was a tall, long, lanky man, leaning back in this way too small folding chair with this Cheshire cat grin on his face saying, oh, I forgot to mention the end of 4Ts, if you've never taken 4Ts. It's basically a 12-step program of tithing, time, talent, and treasures, the 4Ts. And learning, it's a 12-step manifestation class, basically, that Unity offers. I've taken it more than once. Every time you get more layers. At the end of that class, the author suggests that you choose something to manifest. And most people choose something material, house, car, trip, something. But the author says you can also choose God's will. I don't know what possessed me that day. But at the end of that class, Richard, who led the class, leaned back in that chair with a Cheshire cat grin on his face and said, but if you choose God's will, be prepared for a wild and bumpy ride. I don't know what possessed me that night, but that was my choice. My life has not been the same since. That was, I think, in 1999. And it's been a wild and bumpy ride. But here I am, and through it all, the people who somewhat understand how I was living were very supportive and would call me things like brave and courageous. And I'm like, I didn't feel that at all. I'm just following directions. And it was fun, to come and do the things I did. The people here, as I was crawling through jungles and forests and to waterfalls and things looking for property, the women don't do that in this country, at least not back then, and they still don't really. And they thought I was crazy, but here I was. And then the rest of the world that saw how I was living just thought I was totally insane. So, it doesn't matter. I followed, I listened, we're following, we're listening, so we wouldn't be on this call. And that's the cool thing. And there are moments when I still get into that fear, but then I have to keep reminding myself that the worry just blocks the good coming to me. And after the house robbery and the theft of the computer, and it was like, oh, and a few other things. And I'm now in debt again, yet somehow I'm having a hard time feeling like I have a problem with money at the moment. Even though I had to keep reminding myself, okay, Karen, you're on a limited income, but is it limited? Maybe it's not. I know there's more coming. It has been coming for a long time. And maybe it's just around the corner. So I'm working to find my joy again. I felt like I lost the joy for a while. And find the childlike wonder which some of being back on this call has helped to. Thank you, Nahid. This was a wonderful story and reminder that it's always there. Whether we see it at that moment or not, it's always there. And it's always with us from sunrise to sunset and beyond. It's always there. And yes, what a great grandma you are, June. we all have to remember that. It's, of course, wonderful to feel that way. That's how we're meant to feel all the time. And that's how I believe, I believe we're working to go to, where we feel that way all the time, because that's how we're meant to be. So I thank you all for all your shares, all the help, all the reminders since I found this Monday call, since I was invited by Rihanna and found this call. This is one of the most wonderful calls I've attended and I attend. So thank you. Blessings to all. Hugs to you. Hugs, Nancy. I don't know if you saw when the tears were coming. I was sending you hugs. And I love you all. I will, like Kate says, I will never be complete, but I'm finished for now.
I would like to pick up the thread of the trust, the lesson that we are here to learn. It seems everything is falling apart. And I would say at this point in my life, what I will call my financial support and security, there's no stability in that. There's something about to disappear. And in what form would it appear again? I have no clue. But what was just spoken, when I go for moments into that insecure fear place, it's been a long ride. What I hear is, leave it to me, my love. Leave it to me, my love. That's what I hear. I don't have to remind myself. Before, it was about 2 years ago, it was like I would have a kind of soft touch in the back of my head when I would have gone into that insecure, not trusting place. I would have a touch in the back of my head. It's like, did you forget again? And I would have come back to the present moment. Now it's a different version of that. It says, leave it to me, my love. It's like, that is not yours. That does not belong to you. Leave it to me. So it makes it such an, I don't know what is the name of that. To live in that ease and in that graceful state, in the not knowing what is on the corner, what is coming forward. This is new. I haven't lived like that in my life. And from what it was shared, I had last night, maybe because on Saturday I wrote the Wild Divinity, and then last night I was in a gathering, a few beautiful souls, about 7, 8 people, and I don't know what happened, and I always don't know what happens, but I know that when we are in the resonance field, when we are in the frequency, and we are in attunement, our own energy is in attunement with that, it just exponentially, we are much more, and whatever we attend to is available. So when I said, what makes it safe for you to go into that space, for me is always my intention. my intention to see the loving essence everywhere, in every heart. I remember when I was locking the door, I said, your loving presence. That was my intention for going for that meeting. And hallelujah, I don't know. It's like there is a different entity, but then I have to call it Nahid, an aspect of Nahid. It couldn't be any, I cannot call it Abraham or Palladian or whatever from another star. It's an aspect of us. Always we are giving the experience to get to be more aware of the wholeness that we are. So showed up in a wild, unimaginable, loving, and just adoring these 6, 7 people. It's like no more joy, no more sweetness. It can actually be replaced with that. Just being in that state of seeing my own different faces. It's just celebrating that. So as I'm saying that, oh, oh, celebrating this moment, celebrating this moment.
So before I got on this call, this is Nancy, before I got on this call this morning, I was listening to a seminar on YouTube, a really neat guy someone turned me on to. And one of the things that was being said before I got off to get on this call was people like complaining, God never talks to me. And he started talking about all of the different ways that might not be aware that God isn't talking to you or God is talking to you. And when I get on this call, this is just one of those times where God is talking to us, with us, amongst us. And it's really valuable. So the other thing I would pick in my walk.
Nancy, just we can't hear you. Just checking in, and if anyone everyone could put themselves on mute.
Okay, I'm going to go get my earpiece, and I'll be back and share later. Thank you.
This is Shelley, and feeling the urgency, but not urgency, a sense of presence to just deepen into this, the richness of this experience that is moving us all. A sense of gratitude. And what's coming through is the sense of wealth. Is it possible, if we really understood the experience of wealth as a whole being, that is like the key that unlocks the door that was spoken about? This sense where everything's in balance. I just had this visual of like a level. When you're building a home and you're leveling off things, where that sense of balance, that solid foundation is created. And within that solid foundation can be built this glorious, and is this glorious body temple, where the song of our hearts can sing so loud. It's my experience here this morning is this enveloping song of freedom. When I let go, when I trust, when I allow, I experience a sense of relationship to the whole. Call it God, source, spirit, this movement of spirit and consciousness as it's happening. And then I remember, just like that story of the golden windows, that I am the light. And most every morning I wake up, and it's been there for many, many years, when after I experienced a certain collapse in my life, what came to me were these words: I am the light I shall remain. I am here now. And I feel that light just brightens within this space. And when I see you and I look at you and you look at you, and I'm not even on video right now, but I can feel you and you and you and you and you in this call. The sense of this shining of our lights. The sense of safety. But it's even more than just safety. I feel like we're in this new version of this new story. It's this level of, and I loved this in Sharch, when I was recently in Sharch. Andrew Harvey brought these two words together, and it's always what I've called standing at the unknown, or at the edge of your horizon. But he called it the unknowing knowing. Being in that place of total freedom, that sense of where the wild can happen, when we're willing to stand in that presence, in that place of the unknowing knowing, that's where the delight, the magic, the wonder, the miracles. There isn't any sense of doubt in that space of realizing we are the light. We are that divine creation in motion. And we get to recognize it within each other's homes. Like that's why I think that's why we've called it here the home frequency. I love actually how that aligns with today's reflection. The sense of resonance. So with that, I'm whole and complete in the moment, and I would like to simply invite those, and I can't see who you are, so those who haven't spoken, to have a chance to experience the magic and the joy that happens from just even being willing to trust a little bit more, to share that depth of who you are in the moment, in that weaving of the fabric. And for those of us that have talked, now I'm really asking those of us who have shared to please hold back, hold the bank strong, so the rivers can flow for those who haven't had a chance to share. And in that, we'll just stand in that pause together in that glistening water. So don't forget to take yourself off mute if you haven't shared here this morning. And much love to you. I'm complete.
Good morning, it's Deborah, and I'm just kind of came in late, but happy to be here because I haven't been here for quite a while. And that's about what I have at the moment. So nice to be here again. Thank you all.
I'm going to jump back in for a minute because I think everyone has spoken. I just wanted to add a piece to what I spoke earlier. When we were at let me turn this off. When we were at the restaurant last night, sitting there, two little boys, about 3 years old, one with this tousled hair of blonde curls and the other a dark-haired little boy. They were running all through the restaurant, laughing. Their daddy was running after them, trying to calm them down. But what I got in the moment, because I was in such joy with my granddaughter, was the joy of these kids. I mean, their faces were just beaming and they were having such fun. And as I asked myself, what keeps me from my wild side? It's all those messages since I was real little, because I have this vivid imagination and I love to do crazy things. But everyone's saying, now be careful, or what will people think of you? Or all these crazy messages that we tend to give. So I have tried so hard to say to my grandkids and great-grandkids, just do it, live it, love it, and try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And from that, I see the joy that it just bubbles up out of them. And so it's like I have to remind myself to live in that joy and to, when things are heavy, to get that imagination out and that big heart out and see myself just being wild in my imagination, wild in my love, and wild in my allowing others to be in that space with me. So I'm complete. I pass on the talking stick.
Well, before we close up, I hope you can hear me now with my earphones. I'll get this each time. But what I was saying was sometimes thinking God isn't listening to me, and then talking to me, and then here we all are. And it really is a reunion. It is the reunion of these your lights that I've always called it. And it's so lovely to experience. So the other day I was walking, and Shelley knows where I walk on this dirt road near my house. And I always get a gift of a feather every once in a while on that road. And I have them all in a little beautiful pot. And it's really special. And I've noticed about getting feathers, you don't get them when you're like looking for them. So this always reminds me of, is it okay to ask for what I want? It's kind of like, is it okay to feel joy? The thing that was bubbling up with emotion when June had been sharing it, I was feeling that, like, is it okay? Like, I have so much. Shall I ask for more? I'm so blessed. Do I have the right to ask for anything else? Sometimes I struggle with that. So I got this flash that, yes, it's important for me to ask. It's really important. So I asked for a feather. Now, sometimes I ask for a feather, and I asked as almost like a proof. Okay, I'm going to ask for a feather. You show me the feather, because I'm in a place right now where I'm asking for a sign. Okay, I know you're with me. I know all of this, but I just need something concrete. I just need something concrete. So I asked for a feather. And then I went back about 30 seconds later, said, wait a minute. This is not just any feather. This is a very big, beautiful feather. Because if I'm going to ask, I'm not going to waste my ask on something small. I'm asking for something big. I'm going to lift my lid. I want something big. And then, of course, I let it go. And it's all about the trust. I think within about 2 minutes, I walked up out of the dirt path onto the street. And I crossed the street, a place I never walk when I go back home that way. But my husband was there and he was on the phone. I didn't want to be, I was kind of meditative in the moment. And right in front of me is the biggest, when I went to get these, I don't know if you can't see it if you're on the phone, but this is the biggest feather I have ever received from, 10 years of collecting feathers on there. It's twice the size of the biggest feather that I've ever received. And there it was. And my reaction was normal, like, okay, that's the way it's supposed to be. I mean, I was excited, but it was just a tiny little flash and it was over. It was like, okay. So I'm not quite sure what that meant, but I did ask and I did receive, and I'm learning to ask, and I'm thanking all of you for being part of that process. Thank you.
So on that note, that beautiful high melodic note, let's just take a few minutes, or not even a few minutes, a minute of silence, of gratitude, just deepening into how the field is showing up for us as a collective and us individually. Really creating your intention for today from this experience. Feeling this deep well of energy and motion, this co-creative space of love. And with that, invite everyone to take yourselves off mute and join with us for a beautiful yam. And thank you, Nihid, for this glorious inspiration. And yum, yum, yum,
Yum.
Shalom.
Love you all. See you next week. Enjoy the wonder, the magic, and the wisdom that comes from that. Mwah. Thank you, Henry, for the aloha. Bye for now.